Mr. Chairman, thanks, Dr. Kafari, for being here. You know, I do think it's interesting that the last gentleman was asking you about asylum and immigration courts, but that's not in your purview, right? That's DOJ. That's not DHS, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so that was odd, I thought, but it was pretty consistent because I thought the ranking member who's sitting in there today, rather dubious. His own credibility is kind of dubious because he basically questioned this document, your report, but in so doing, he spent a good portion of his time lauding the Biden border policies. When you start lauding the Biden border policies, which is, I don't care what the pre-42 surge was, we've gone back down to the typical Biden border crisis numbers. That's where we sit today. And that's about a five-fold increase over what Jay Johnson said was a crisis on the border. If you see 1,000 a day, he says that's a crisis. Or you got about 5,000 a day. The gentleman from Long Beach says, whoa, we've got this thing back under control. Well, you don't. You just simply don't. But I will say this, your report is consistent with my on-the-ground experience and getting down to the border many, many times. I've taken the chairman down many times. I've been down there. I go down there. You just go down there. I don't take anybody with me. I'll park my car. I'll start walking along the border. See how long it takes for Border Patrol agents to come. When they finally get there, I ask them how things are going. They tell me it ain't going good. I said, well, what do your colleagues feel? Well, they feel like they've been abandoned by this administration. The other thing I will say is you had survey responses from 16% of the entire force. Is that right?
16% of the 57,000 employees in DHS, primarily ICE and CBP, who we surveyed.
Yeah. Well, in my studies, a large N study was typically, we thought anything over 350 to 500 was a large N study. 9,000 would be pretty persuasive. He compared it to a Twitter survey. The only difference is you had a limited universe, and if you're going to make a claim, you might say selection bias because only the people that cared enough to responded. But you had 9,000, 16% respond. Well, let's take a look here just a little bit. Can you discuss what steps your office takes when an audit or investigation is opened?
We notified the department through a transmittal memo of the opening of a project, an audit or an inspection. We let them know that we will be looking for certain documents for some communication, and we set what's called an entrance conference with the department's liaison office and the components liaison office to begin our audit or inspection work.
And when you request documents or information, what's the typical response time for an agency?
Normally, it's about 30 days to respond back to us.
Is the DHS, are they responsive typically within 30 days?
They have been on certain occasions.
What's their typical response time now?
Upwards of about, there is one project that is 140 days that we've made our request and haven't gotten the information.
So did they give you a rationale for their 5-month delay?
Not in that particular case, but they have in others.
Is a rationale for delay that they give to you, are those allowed under the Inspector General Act?
The only exception to not providing the IG that I'm aware of in the IG Act is the Secretary of the Department would have to make a determination that for national security or not to compromise an ongoing investigation, the Department Secretary would then have to make that determination.
Has Secretary Mayorkas made that determination and communicated that to you?
He would also have to communicate that to this Oversight Committee as well.
Has he communicated that to you?
No, sir.
He hasn't communicated that to us as far as I know. So he's not complying with the requirements of the Inspector General Act. Is that fair to say?
Not to my knowledge.
Well, my time has expired, and I told you it'd go by fast, but Mr. Chairman, thank you.